The desert dust crept across the Arizona plains like a slow, burning tide, staining the sky with bands of red, gold, and fading purple. Ethan Hale urged his tired horse forward, the animal's breaths coming out rough and uneven. He had spent all day searching for stray cattle, thinking the biggest threat he'd face would be coyotes or rattlers hiding in the scrub. He never imagined raiders would ambush him. The attack came sudden and vicious. 3 riders burst from behind a ridge, rifles cracking, bullets kicking dust at his boots. Ethan swerved his horse and ducked behind a cluster of rocks, but his luck ran out when a shot grazed the horse's leg. The animal bucked, throwing him violently to the ground. He scrambled to his feet, dizzy, ears ringing, and ran. The raiders' shouts echoed through the canyon wash, growing closer. Ethan's lungs burned, every breath scraped like sandpaper. His boots slipped on loose gravel, and he nearly pitched face first into the dirt. He was certain this was how it ended for him, alone, cornered, forgotten in the desert. Then a shadow moved. At first, Ethan thought a boulder had shifted. But the shape, it was too tall, too fluid, too alive. A figure stepped from behind a sandstone outcrop, towering above him. She was a woman. No, a warrior, her height striking, her presence overwhelming. Long black hair framed her powerful shoulders, and she held a long spear painted with tribal markings. Her dark eyes locked onto his. "Down," she said, voice calm as stone. Ethan dropped instantly. A split second later, she hurled her spear with incredible force. It whistled through the air and struck a raider square in the chest. The man toppled from his saddle before he even had time to gasp. The other raiders panicked, but she didn't give them the chance to regroup. She moved without hesitation, swift, controlled, lethal. Ethan watched in stunned silence as she fought like a spirit of the land itself. One raider charged her with a knife. She pivoted, disarmed him, and kicked him backward so hard he crashed into a mesquite tree. The last man fled, shouting curses that faded into the growing night. When it was over, the giant woman stood breathing steadily, as if the battle had barely stirred her. Ethan forced himself to stand. "You saved my life." She turned to him, expression unreadable. "You were not meant to die today." Her voice wasn't harsh. It felt grounded, solid, like she spoke from a place of deep certainty. He swallowed. "Who are you?" "Noya," she replied. "My people call me the Mountain Blossom." The name struck him, both delicate and powerful, perfectly fitting the woman before him. She retrieved her spear with silent efficiency, wiped the blade clean, then faced him fully. He expected fear to settle in. After all, she was taller than any woman he'd ever seen, stronger than most men, and had just taken down armed raiders without breaking stride. Yet standing in front of her, Ethan felt something else entirely, safety. "Why help me?" he asked. Her gaze drifted toward the horizon. "I know what it is to be hunted. And you did not scream or run from me as others do." He blinked. "People run from you. Many fear what they do not understand." The words carried weight. Years of it. Ethan hesitated before asking softly, "Do you want me to leave?" "I don't want to trouble you. You are injured," she said simply. "You trouble nothing. Come." Before he could question her, she motioned for him to follow. Her stride was long and sure, guiding him deeper into the hidden canyon. They reached a spring tucked between boulders, water reflecting the first stars of the night. "Sit," she instructed. He obeyed. She knelt beside him, her large hands surprisingly gentle as she cleaned his scraped arms. The contrast struck him, strength paired with unusual softness. He found himself staring a moment too long. "You're gentle," he murmured. For the first time, her expression shifted, eyes narrowing in a puzzled way. "Few say this of me. Then they're blind," Ethan replied. A flicker of something, surprise, maybe warmth, passed through her eyes before she looked away. She built a small fire with expert speed, sparks spiraling upward like tiny spirits escaping. They ate dried berries and rabbit, the fire crackling softly. Between them lay the quiet desert, a blanket of stars, and an unexpected, growing sense of connection. For the first time in months, Ethan felt safe. And he knew, without question, that his life had shifted the moment Noya stepped from those canyon shadows. Morning light crept slowly into the canyon, painting the rock walls in soft orange and gold. Ethan woke to the faint sound of metal against stone. When he opened his eyes, he found Noya sitting by the fire pit, sharpening her spear with smooth, steady strokes. She looked like part of the land, immovable, powerful, ancient. And yet, strangely gentle in the soft morning glow. "You should eat," she said without turning. She slid a roasted rabbit toward him. He accepted it gratefully. "You hunt better than any man I know." "I learned alone," she said. "Alone teaches quickly." There was no bitterness in her voice, only fact. But Ethan sensed loneliness beneath the surface, like a quiet ache she had grown accustomed to carrying. They packed up and left the canyon, the path winding between sagebrush and sandstone cliffs. Noya walked ahead, her spear resting across her back, moving with the strong, silent grace of a mountain cat. "You never told me where your people are," Ethan said as they crossed a dry creek bed. "My people fear what I am becoming," she replied softly. "Not for deeds, for difference." Ethan's chest tightened. "They fear you because you're tall. Because you're strong. They fear what breaks tradition," she answered. "Even if it protects them." He let her words sink in. "You deserve better than fear." She glanced at him, unreadable. "And you do not fear me." "Why should I?" he asked. "You saved my life. Twice now. She didn't smile, but her shoulders eased. They climbed a rocky ridge, giving them a sweeping view of the plains below. Ethan spotted the faint outline of his ranch house far in the distance, chimney smoke curling upward. Noya folded her arms. Those raiders will return. I know, Ethan replied. I just don't know when. They hunt like wolves, she said. They test weaknesses. If they think you are alone, they will strike. He sighed. I don't have enough hired hands left to defend the ranch. Most left after the drought. Noya stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. I will stand with you. He looked up sharply. You would help me. Yes, she said simply. But I ask something in return. Ethan's heartbeat picked up. What is it? Her voice softened to a fragile whisper he hadn't heard from her before. A place. For a time. A chance to not be alone. He stared at her, stunned. This fierce, unshakable warrior wanted belonging. Noya, he said gently, if you want a place to stay, you don't have to ask. You're welcome with me for as long as you want. She inhaled deeply, as if hearing something she had long dreamed of but never believed she'd receive. Then I will help protect this land, she said, and the man who tends it. Ethan knew then that his life was no longer just his own. Something larger, deeper, had stepped into it, something that had the strength to change everything. And he welcomed it. Dusk settled over the ranch like a heavy blanket. The air grew still, the sky bruised with purple and fading orange. Ethan loaded his rifle, hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from anticipation. They're coming, Noya said from the porch. She didn't need to see them. She sensed them, and she was right. Moments later, dust clouds rose on the horizon. 8 raiders thundered toward the ranch, their horses kicking up earth in violent streaks. As they approached, Noya stepped forward, planting herself between the house and the oncoming riders. Her towering frame looked almost mythic in the half-light. Stay behind me, she told Ethan. No, he said, standing beside her. I stand with you. She looked at him, something warm flickering in her eyes before she turned back to the threat. The raiders slowed when they saw her. What in hell? One muttered. Their leader shouted, move aside, woman. Noya didn't flinch. This land is protected. The riders laughed, until she raised her spear. The first raider charged. She sidestepped and struck him with the bottom end of her spear, knocking him clear from his saddle. The next rushed with a whip. She caught it midair and pulled so hard he toppled forward. Ethan fired warning shots, keeping the others at bay. The two of them moved with unexpected coordination, her strength and his precision fitting together like two halves of one defense. A raider lunged at her from behind, but she spun, slamming her spear into the ground and flipping him over her shoulder. Dust exploded around them, horses reared, shouts filled the air. Finally, seeing the fight turn against them, the raiders gathered their wounded and fled into the dusk. Silence fell. Ethan lowered his rifle, chest heaving. You were incredible. Noya stood still for a long moment before turning toward him. The firelight from the lantern caught her face, revealing exhaustion and something more vulnerable beneath. You fought well, she said. So did you, he replied. Better than well. You saved everything I have. She looked at him, her towering presence suddenly softer. You gave me something to protect. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of mesquite and dust. Ethan stepped closer, close enough to feel her warmth. You have a place here, he told her. Not just as a protector. Not just as a guest. Her breath caught. A place, she murmured. With you, if you want it. Her large hand lifted, resting gently over his heart. I want more than a place, Ethan. I want roots. A beginning. Something that grows. He covered her hand with his. Then let's grow it, together. For the first time since he'd met her, Noya smiled. Soft, full of hope, glowing under the rising moon. And in that moment, the lone rancher and the giant Apache girl began the future they had both needed, but never knew how to ask for.